What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode, the first edition, if you will, of the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian. We're going to be diving in to all things Boston Celtics from here on out. And to start off, congratulations. You made it through the regular season, 82 games down. And most importantly, that means we do not have to talk about the Charlotte Hornets anymore, the Washington Wizards. Good night, Utah Jazz. It's good basketball from here on out, at least we hope. And it starts tonight. The play-in gets underway, and the Boston Celtics, who earned the 2 seed, now waits to find out who is the winner of the 7-8 matchup. We have the Orlando Magic taking on the Atlanta Hawks. The winner then will travel to Boston on Sunday for Game 1 of the series for this NBA playoffs. Now, the line is telling us here that the Orlando Magic are 5.5-point favorites. Magic are such a weird team this year because they've been on this roller coaster of a season where early on in the season, they were a top 4 team in the East. Paolo Banchero off to a hot start, then gets an oblique injury, which is something pretty uncommon in the NBA. Only for a couple weeks later, his running German mate, Franzi Wagner, he had a similar oblique injury. Orlando's been decimated through injuries throughout the entire season, and somehow they were still managing to stay afloat. Paolo comes back, Franz is on the precipice of coming back, and then Jalen Suggs goes down, and that's when the Orlando Magic went down. They finished the last part of the season pretty hot, where Paolo was on an insane tear, averaging 29 and 10 or something close to that over the last couple weeks of the season. But again, it's really hard to get a gauge for what type of basketball is happening the last couple of weeks of the season because you have plenty of teams not trying because they already have their playoff spot locked up, and also plenty of teams not trying because they're trying to go capture the flag and Cooper Flag this year in the NBA draft. So my lean right now is that the Orlando Magic is going to take this game against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks, who kind of had some weird deadline deals, right? They sent Bogdan Bogdanovic to the Los Angeles Clippers, who they're on a run of their own right now. They traded off DeAndre Hunter, who is now the big bad wing defender for the Cleveland Cavaliers that potentially will be poised with trying to shut down Tatum and Brown in an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. They did acquire Karis LeVert and Georges Niang, who have been nice pieces for them so far. They had their early draft pick this past year, Zachary Rissache, the Frenchman, who had a nice little 38-point game to cap the regular season this year for Atlanta. It's kind of the battle of two different styles of basketball. Orlando's this team that refuses to score the ball, plays a ton of defense, and then you have Atlanta, who turns the ball over a lot, also forces some turnovers, but they're more of a run and gun, have Ice Trae doing his little celebrations here and there as they try to rack up points. So it's going to be a battle of wills. Will the offense in Atlanta win out against the defense of Orlando? I think for a rooting interest, I'm kind of wanting the Hawks to take this game so that the Celtics can, I wouldn't say it's an easier matchup, but it's a less grueling, less demanding matchup. I'd rather see the Celtics in the first round just get a lot of cardio in, winning 130 to 118 versus Orlando games, which somebody's going to get hurt the way they play defense. It's a really tough one. So we'll have to tune in tonight to see what we get for that first round matchup. But speaking of getting dinged up in health, whew, man, the reporting on Jaylen Brown is a little nerve-wracking. Don't love to see our reigning Eastern Conference Finals MVP, our reigning Finals MVP, dealing with some knee injuries down the stretch. Now, a lot of the team officials and Jaylen Brown himself, even Kristaps Porzingis, are kind of talking about his injury, trying to play it down a little bit. But ESPN Ramona Shelburne had a pretty concerning report saying that he received pain management injections in his troublesome right knee this week in an effort to promote healing before the Celtics begin their title defense. Now, the phrase promote healing makes me uncomfortable. It reminds me of somebody maybe I went to high school with on Facebook saying they're promoting healing. All you have to do is buy my juice or something like that. So I don't like the phrase promote healing, and neither did Twitter doctor Brian Sutterer. Didn't think we'd be quoting Twitter doctors this early on, but Brian went on to say the supposed bone bruise that's been bothering him for a year is likely not really a bone bruise and probably more cartilage meniscus irritation. Also, pain management, he goes on to say, injections to promote healing typically don't go together unless it was an orthobiological injection like a PRP. However, PRP usually takes us 4 to 6 weeks to work, so it's possible it's actually a steroid injection. All of that to say, those are big words I don't understand, but it is concerning heading into this playoff run. What is the health of Jaylen Brown? Now, maybe in the first round against an Orlando or an Atlanta, you're not really too concerned as to what you have in JB, right? You can get by that first round matchup with a sub 100% Jaylen Brown. But the key is when we get into the second round, and we would, if we win, would take on the winner of the New York Knicks, the 3 seed, and the Detroit Pistons, the 6 seed, then we're starting to get into dicey territory. Celtics would still definitely be favored in that series, but they need their number 2 guy to be locked and ready to go. Now, one of the benefits is it looks like Kristaps Porzingis is relatively healthy, but the title defense staunchly stands next to Jaylen Brown and the health of his knee. So hopefully JB is going to be good to go as we get into the playoffs. And maybe the fact that they had won so many games and were able to rest some of their guys in that last weekend of the season against the Charlotte Hornets, maybe that's all JB needed. And then they get a full week off. The benefit of being the 2 seed is they don't even play their first game until Sunday. So hopefully Jaylen Brown is ready to go at that point because, goodness, we need that healthy knee. Otherwise, it's going to make things very difficult for the Celtics in their title defense. But one of the edges they might have is the madness of Joe Mazzulla, the quote himself, right? Everything that guy says in a press conference is a little unkiltered. Maybe one of those guys where if he's your coach, you would die for that man. But if he's a coach on the opposing sideline, I probably want to kill him, right? Nobody should watch The Town as much as he watches that town, the movie The Town, but hey, whatever, we'll take it. Mazzulla, so interesting because when we went into last postseason, Joe Mazzulla is somebody that you would say maybe that's like a red flag for the Boston Celtics. Can they overcome the lack of coaching experience in Joey Maz? And now you fast forward a year later, right? We are defending champions. The year before that, they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals where they fell down 3-0 to the Miami Heat, came all the way back, and then Tatum tweaked his ankle right before the game or right as the game started. But now you look at it, Mazzulla, we might actually have a coaching edge. I said we like I'm on the team, but I'm 5'7", 140 pounds. I'm not on the team. But I do think Joe Mazzulla is actually a coaching advantage for this Boston Celtics team. Not only does he have the championship experience from what we saw last season, he seems to have a very good understanding and vibe of like what the Boston Celtics need and want from a day-to-day basis. Because not only is X's and O's do I feel like he has an advantage, he really does seem like when you have a team that is defending a title, so many times people they want to get their numbers up. They've already sacrificed to get the ring. Now they want a little shine. Maybe they want to get paid a little bit more, right? All of that is natural in what we've seen from other teams win titles and what happens the years to come. This really has not been the case. I mean, we've even seen it to the point where if you saw a clip from this past weekend where Torrey Craig's son during a timeout was coaching him up because his son was on the bench almost playing like ball boy for the game. And Mazzulla, after the fact, during his press conference, he even came out and said like one of his highlights in his Boston Celtics coaching career is making it a more family-friendly place. He really does seem to have a good hand or pulse of what's going on with the team. Even Al Horford, right? As we're finishing up the NBA regular season, getting ready for a playoff run, Al Horford's ruled out of a game. He's not with the team because he's watching his Florida Gators win the college national championship. So Joe Mazzulla, again, from red flag to green flag, right? There you go. You coin that right now. Let's trademark that, put that on some t-shirts, have Mazzulla on one side, Ben Affleck and Jeremy Renner on the other side. Right, we can make that happen. Let's get our merch line going now. Episode 1, we need some merch. But anyways, you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, right? You have the 1 seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Kenny Atkinson, who, yes, Coach of the Year candidate, most likely to win, had a good assistant run with the Golden State Warriors. I believe he was also on the French national team coaching staff. But the last time that he was a head coach in the playoffs, he was coaching guys like D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie with the Brooklyn Nets before KD and Kyrie came in and kicked him out for Steve Nash. The only constant between that Nets team and this Cavs team is Jared Allen. So Kenny Atkinson, yes, Coach of the Year candidate, but maybe a little inexperienced as a playoff head coach. You look at the 3 seed, it's Tom Thibodeau, obviously defensive-minded coach, has done a great job with the New York Knicks, likes to play his guys 155 minutes a game, and then occasionally people have soft tissue injuries and they run them into the ground before we get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Shout out last season's postseason, right? So I don't know, maybe edge Mazzulla there. The 4 seed, you have Rick Carlisle, who again, one-time champion with the Dallas Mavericks, really good coach. However, the Pacers have a true knack for doing weird stuff in the last 90 seconds of a game. That kind of goes on Carlisle a little bit. You have the 5 seed, Doc Rivers, who's a good coach as long as they're not up 3-0 3-1. Detroit Pistons, you have JB Bickerstaff, young team's first time in a postseason run. Again, another Coach of the Year candidate, but really not a ton of good playoff experience. And then we're looking at 7 and 8 seeds. You've got the Orlando Magic, Atlanta Hawks, Chicago Bulls, or Miami Heat. I mean, Spoelstra, yes, great coach, terrible roster at this point, right? So I'm not really concerned about any of those in that range. So I really do think Missoula might be a coaching edge. From red flag to green flag. Oh, man, the green flag works because the Celtics are green, too. God, just an A-plus improvised idea. That's the type of content and work you should expect to see here at the Celtics Daily, night in and night out. All right, let's go. Our last segment. Let's do a little crystal ball, a little first-round playoff predictions for what we know so far. So let's do the play-in first. I'm going to say it's Atlanta-Orlando. We'll do a little chalk. Sure, Chicago Bulls getting in as the 8 seed would be kind of fun because they just play an insane run-and-gun offense behind Josh Giddey, Kobe White, and Nikola Vucevic. But I think I'm just, for chalk's sake, we'll say Orlando Magic wins tonight, and then the Atlanta Hawks win on Friday. We'll put the Hawks against the Cavs, Magic against the Celtics, and, just for respect's sake, we'll say each team, Hawks and Magic, steal one game. So we'll say Cavs in 5. We'll say Celtics in 5. But now let's get to the spice. The Bing Bong Boys against the Detroit Pistons. I kind of want to go upset city here. I don't know. Are the Knicks going to have anybody that can guard Cade Cunningham? Sure, they traded their next 35 first-round draft picks for Mikal Bridges for him to average like 9 points a game. But I kind of think Cade Cunningham's going to go nutso, but this is going to be a Brunson series. I'm going to go Knicks in 7. We're going to have a ton of games at Madison Square Garden, which will set us up for Boston and Knicks in the second round. And then our last matchup, man, no Dame. It's been reported today by Shams that Damian Lillard is not going to be ready for the start of the playoffs. I don't think that should have been a surprise. That means it's a lot of Kevin Porter Jr., it's a lot of Kyle Kuzma, AJ Green. I don't think so. Giannis might average 50 points in this series. We're going Pacers in 5. What's your favorite hot take heading into the postseason? Do you have any upset cities? Let us know in the comments. And I appreciate you guys tuning in for the first episode of the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian. We'll be back again shortly as we preview the first round. Who will be taking on the Celtics on Sunday, Game 1? Thanks for tuning in.